simply remember, and it's a joyous celebration of family values. Sweet dreams from a shade, words from another age, all that we take to be true. Read all of those things you feel, pay scant attention, read all of the culture behind you. Drifting along with a poem for a song, and the poets drag all of the figures behind. Street buskers pay their fines, we walk by in our minds, whistling tunes from the radio. They go. They'll say, wipe other worlds away. When you're asked your opinion, make sure you know what to say. Tombstone and treacle and sex and the Beatles and place for today in your front room. Could vow the world at war, the music we're fighting for, the people who never take sugar. Suicide pills, burning girls on the bridge, interviews and saying thanks for the memory. Dead at Her Majesty's, get your priorities right, this is war, I'll tell you what's more. It's all the rage today, roll up, step right this way, it's all the rage today, clapping. Hear the voice of the bar, playing for laughs, fighting hard for her few minutes of airtime. Young men sit discussing elections, who won at squash and the size of erections. One day I'll write, but maybe I'm wrong. I've more faith in the playing, but faith in this song. Dresses and pink satin sashes, snowflakes that fall from my nose and eyelashes, brown paper packages tied up with string. These are a few of my favorite things. Christmas Day, 3 o'clock, lying on Sundays, slips by the fire, late evenings at Sainsbury's, complete works of Shakespeare, a hi-fi extension. Read the back sleeves and get the impression. Long walks on Sundays and Jean-Luc Godard, and sex once a week, just like winning at cards. The new Jeffrey Archer and drinking with friends. Now everyone's having a dirty weekend. The new Jeffrey Archer and drinking with friends. Now everyone's having a dirty weekend. The new Jeffrey Archer and drinking with friends. Now everyone's having a dirty weekend. Thanks very much. Thank you. Can you hear any of the words out there? Because I don't know what's going on. You can. A friend said last week that they read the papers for a long time in a while and realised all the things the government are doing. When you stay away from the news for a bit, it's a bit of a shock to start reading it again. I'd like to think things can't get much worse, but it seems that they can. This song's called It's Winter Now. Money for comics, money for beer, money to make your headache clear. Spend, spend, spend. The moving executing machines half price. Come on down, the price is right, that's entertainment. The fetching woman's pretty look, fetch the men that bring us fun and laughter. Canned of cuss and what is more, guess what's behind the big blue door? It's who's baby? Schoolboys, conservative, swatless and Dennis, dressed like women, what's it to do? And men march to reclaim the night, they kiss the TV, so their side, a light goes out. And all debt is bye-bye, for the Sunday Times, the public eye is filled with emotion. There's envelopes through every It's winter now. Friends who do your thinking for you, practice talking like your latest lovers, silent nights. Creative unemployment, there's a background of privilege to the buying games. Well, shower, fitment, shower, leg, the male brain disorders off the peg, that's legal jargon. And a putrid smell of this rotting cubs, the perfect orgasm and the perfect cost, that's education. Cause you said, our survey said, a new car, a double bed, it's just amazing. Our deck is bought up by for the Sunday Times, the public eye is filled with emotion. There's envelopes through every door, your phones speak up, feed the poor, it's their summer now. It's winter now. It's winter now. It's winter now. I do all funny bits on the guitar now, but my hands are freezing. I can't do anything except hold G and A. Winter now. It's winter now. Thanks very much. Sorry? Put the yuppies on. Got the records for that one, but thanks.
About 20 people and me, so it's great to see so many people turn out. I haven't got a speech prepared, and I'm not one of those wonderful happenings that Richard referred to coming along later. I'm just here really to give my support to the lesbian and gay community in their fight to get rid of this absolutely appalling proposed legislation. Perhaps we should have a little quiz and ask ourselves, what of bank clerks and MPs and shop assistants and politicians and doctors and teachers got in common? You can go on forever. The answer, of course, is there are lesbians and there are gay men everywhere. Perhaps we could go on to ask ourselves if this proposed legislation is Thatcher's equal opportunities policy. Well, if it is, I don't think much to it, and I'm sure none of you here today think much to it either. We are fighting to get rid of this clause. In the council, we're certainly lobbying MPs, we're lobbying the Lords, we're doing our best to publicise this legislation, proposed legislation, and obviously we're hoping to get everybody on our side, because we are talking about a fundamental blow to human rights here. It's going to go on and on. It started erosion of rights, they've hammered the unemployed, they've been hammering women, they've been hammering the sick, they're hammering the health service. Well, they can't keep on. We're not going to let them go on. So thanks everybody for coming today. It's great. The weather's appalling, we know that. We're all cold, it's miserable, but I hope we're not going to be miserable. We're going to fight on, we're going to keep going. We're taking it to full council this month. I hope to see as many people of you at the full council meeting at the town hall as I saw when I chaired Equal Opportunities meeting a few weeks ago. So come along, make your presence felt, don't be invisible. Come out, show this government we do mean business. Thanks, that's all I want to say, and I just want to wish the whole campaign every luck, and I shall be certainly giving every bit of assistance I can on a personal level. Thank you.
Good afternoon, friends. May I say first of all that I'm very flattered to have been invited to speak this afternoon, and I thank you very much indeed for inviting me, and I congratulate the Augurs on having such a magnificent attendance on such a lousy day. It shows the strength of feeling across not only the lesbian and gay men's movements, but also across the whole of the political spectrum in Leicester against the proposed Clause 28. I noticed in an article in The Guardian the other day, written by Polly Toynbee, she advises the lesbian and gay men's movements that the problem that is suffered within the movement is because the left has taken over the voice and the leadership of the lesbian and gay men's movements. I have to tell you that I'm not aware of any attempt by the left to take over as the voice of gay movements. I understood that I was to have followed Professor Pritchard of the Liberal Party speaking here today. Now, I'm not actually aware that he's here. I've not seen him. And I have to say that it seems to me appalling that there's not cross-party support for a basic issue of civil rights, such as gay rights. Perhaps it's useful for me to quote very briefly from what the Act proposed actually says, which I'm not sure that enough people have actually read what is said within the Act. One of the things that it says within this piece of latest conservative bigotry is that a local authority shall not promote homosexuality or publish material for the promotion of homosexuality. And then it goes on, promote the teaching in any maintained school of the acceptability of homosexuality as a pretended family relationship. Now, that, I think, comes down to the essence of the bigotry of this government, that they can actually say that heterosexual relationships are more valid than the 10% of loving, caring relationships which happen to be between people of the same gender. Seems to me an absolute testament to the bigotry of this government. It's quite simply not acceptable. We, as Labour councillors, will certainly work with you as much as possible, I believe, to fight this bill and to fight its imposition if it is passed. However, there has to be a movement against not only this clause, but against what goes hand in hand with it, which is the attempts by the media to create an environment in which gays are more oppressed than even they've been oppressed before. And that means, I believe, that the government is going to attempt what is effectively a ban on homosexuals working within the caring professions. I believe that there will be an attempt by the media against lesbians and gay men working within the caring professions. I thank you for listening to me on such a lousy day, and all power to the movement, and all power to the defeat of Clause 28. Thank you.
To a cruel, cruel history, and it seems to me that ignorance and stupidity are alive and well in this country. What you mean by family is a constant mystery to me. Those who are saying what the government should do, it's so frightening to hear these points of view. I would know, I would find fear and loathing in that normal, healthy mind. Hypocrisy or blasphemy, but at the end of the day, you know what they're saying is tax on living, a tax on thinking, just what it is that you might want to be. Tax on living, a tax on thinking, just what it is that you might want to be. There's a logic behind the thinking which isn't hard to find. Our people so stupid? Read the papers, the blind lead the fashion. Put down my friend, toast Wiggy's baby defend. Things I know to be wrong, but which gets you on? If you're scared being alone, just pick up the phone. There'll be silence. I would know, I might find fear and loathing in that normal, healthy mind. Hypocrisy or blasphemy, but at the end of the day, you know what they're doing is tax on living, tax on thinking, just what it is that you might want to be. Tax on living, tax on thinking. much. I'm proud to play here today. Thank you.
Hello. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Councillor Laura Pole from Leicester City Council, and I'm very proud to have been invited to speak here this afternoon. The organisers asked me if I would mention something about the word pretended family relationship that the Tories have put into this piece of legislation. You may be interested to know that 13% of households in Britain consist of a male breadwinner, a dependent wife and children. That's 13%. So 87% of the families in Britain do not conform to this idea of the family relationship that the government would like us all to adhere to. That 87% consists of single men and women, whether they're heterosexual or homosexual. It consists of divorcees. It consists of families who are not married to each other, whether they've got children or not. So what is this family relationship that the government would like us to portray? What it actually means is that they would like us all to become like that 13%. I'm not one of that 13%. Hands up those of you here who are one of that 13%. Not very many, right? Now, we're not an education authority at the City Council, so this piece of legislation about pretended family relationships is not supposed to affect us, but we are a housing authority. Now, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to follow all the single women in Leicester around and watch who gets into their bed and find out whether they're lesbian or not? And if we find out that they are we supposed to say, we're not going to allow you to put a roof over your child's head? By hell we are. And are we supposed to say to them, I'm sorry, we're not going to give you any money to tell other people about the difficulties of being lesbian or gay in our society? Well, I'm sure that I'm not going to vote for that. Are we supposed to tell people that we're not going to license gay clubs anymore because that might be held to be promoting homosexuality? I'm sure we're not going to do that either. So I wonder who the government is really intending to aim at with this piece of legislation. I wonder how many people actually believe in the bigotry that the Tory party is putting forward. I wonder whether it's just the press, or I wonder whether there are a lot of people out there who are prepared to put up their hands and say, we don't conform to this idea of the family that's portrayed by the government, that you see every day on your televisions in soap powder advertisements. It makes me sick every time I see it, because I know that that's not what people are like. People don't fit into nice little niches. They're individual people and they live their individual lives. I never saw my parents having sex when I was a child, and I don't suppose most people do. So what do the government think is going to happen when children walk into their parents' bedroom and see two women or two men sitting there in bed together? Do they think that's going to turn them into lesbians and homosexuals? I bet they do. But that's not what life is like, is it? People do what they want to do. I'm not interested in what you do in bed. I don't care what you do in bed. I think it's entirely up to you, and I think the government ought to keep its bloody nose out of other people's business.
This was dedicated to the sensibility of the House of Lords, who debated something to do with cherry creams no longer being in the black magic books. And that is true. Okay. Look people's frown. The sun is and the food stranded on the beach. Our maids will feed their cormorants, and that will teach us not to wish. I want to break your neck. Can you understand? Can you understand? I want to break your neck. And the rain came down, and the people frown. It only takes one foot inside your door, a little word that's out of line. It only takes one frown upon your face, send a shiver down my spine. I want to break your heart. Can you understand? Can you understand? I want to break your heart. And the rain came down, and the people cried. Oh, Black King, what is happening? What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? Ready? There was an accident at birth. No one thinking. Hip-hop is fine, but you can't have everything. Mothers in the union, sussing broken bones. Sitting down a coal mine, digging on her own. She's safe. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. She's safe. There was an accident at work. Now he's got the sack. He has to burn the flesh off Daddy's broken back. Uncle's safely home now. Was a council house, but he's got 50 shares in Mr. Mickey Mouse. He's safe. Na 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 na. He's safe. They could be burning down my house now, or saying that I don't belong. We could be living on a tightrope, so it's not surprising we think we're where we want to be. Safe. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. We're safe. They could be digging not surprising, this way where we want to be. Say, no, 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 no. We're safe! Ha 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 ha!
Good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, I'd just like to give our vote of thanks to Councillor Maggie Stagg, Councillor Paul Gosling and Councillor Laura Poll for expressing their support in our cause here today. Secondly, I'm here today on behalf of the Leicestershire AIDS Line Management Committee to lend my support to the Claws Out rally. The implementation and distribution of AIDS education material has been relatively easy for us up until now. However, with the government's Victorian values being forced upon people, the right to know and be aware of the dangers of AIDS is going to become very difficult for us to continue. Should the lesbian and gay pubs be closed, the lesbian and gay clubs, the centres, and the culture in general be prohibited from existing, who and where do we direct our information at? Lesbians and gay men have taken a very responsible attitude towards AIDS so far. Unfortunately, this is not true of our heterosexual compatriots. Although not many heterosexuals are carriers of the virus up until now, this is becoming a real threat for them. If we are not allowed to use the lesbian and gay community as a shining example of responsible behaviour towards AIDS, how are we supposed to set this example for the heterosexuals? The continuation and the development of further education as far as AIDS goes amongst the lesbian and gay community could become impossible if Clause 28 is implemented and put onto the statute books. On behalf of Leicestershire AIDS Line, I implore you to oppose the clause and show united support against it.
With my colleagues, my Liberal colleagues on the City Council, the central issue, I believe, concerning Clause 28 is whether every young person has a right or not to know the truth. The truth, for example, about human sexuality. That it is no respecter of gender or of the straitjacket into which we try conventionally to fit it. The truth, and we believe that those who educate young people have a duty to educate them in the truth. The truth, for example, that more important than the sex of someone with whom you form an emotional attachment is that you do so with love as well as for self-satisfaction. And to young people who feel guilty when they're told that a homosexual attachment is unnatural, their teachers have a duty and a responsibility to offer them the thought that wearing clothes is unnatural, and that talking through a microphone is unnatural, and that killing for gain is natural, and that nature, therefore, is not a model on which the human race should necessarily model itself. And when young people are told that the only legitimate aspiration of the human species is to reproduce itself, I think their teachers have a responsibility to offer them the thought that one theory of relativity is a more precious contribution to the human race than 10 little Einsteins, and that 9 Beethoven symphonies
are a greater contribution than 100 little Beethovens would have been. And it's surely a tragedy that our hesitant progress over the last 20 years towards openness and tolerance in sexual matters should be snuffed out one by one. Heaven knows the scale of the sexual abuse of children in their own homes should be incentive enough to reject the conventional wisdom about the preparation of young people to live with their own sexuality. The events of the last few years show just how fragile is the base on which the caring and tolerant and liberal aspects of our society, so hesitatingly built up over the last 80 years, are built. We're almost unique, you know, among the Western democracies that our citizens have no entrenched rights in law. They have no rights in law against infringement of their freedom, against discrimination on grounds of race or religion or sexual orientation. They have no right to privacy, no right to freedom of association, no right to join a trade union, and no right not to join a trade union. And when we became members of the common market, we were obliged to sign the European Convention on Human Rights, which gives our citizens all these rights and more. Yet successive British governments have refused to incorporate the convention that they had to sign. They have refused to incorporate it into British law. And when I spoke to your Gay Pride celebration last summer here, I warned you of the threat to our hard-won values by the present authoritarian tendency in this country. And I reminded you that we should have to use the next 4 years preparing for the long haul back. And I implored you not to waste those years fighting only the day-to-day issues, if that meant neglecting to work for the major constitutional reforms that we need to protect our rights as citizens against the might of institutional power. That is the problem in Britain today, ladies and gentlemen, that we have no rights. And I ask you to make the introduction of a Bill of Rights incorporating the European Convention on Human Rights into British law the focus of your attention and effort over the next 4 years. And when I made that plea to you in the summer, I was publicly rebuked, as a matter of fact, for my pains by the Member of Parliament for East Leicester. Well, I made no apologies then, and I make no apologies now for saying what I believe to be vitally important and what I believe passionately to be the issue of the day. Don't forget that it was the European Court which ordered the British government to legalise homosexual relationships between adults in Northern Ireland. And it was the European Court which ordered the abolition of birching in the Isle of Man. And it was the European Court which gave parents the right to protect their children from corporal punishment in schools. And it was the European Court which gave prisoners in British jails the right of access to their members of Parliament and legal representation by a solicitor. The list is endless. British citizens are the main clients of the European Court, and Clause 28 unquestionably is in contravention of that European Convention, and it will surely be challenged in the European Court. In fact, the European Court is our only defence against Clause 28, because we have no defence in Britain. But it will take up to 5 years to obtain a ruling. And that is the price that we have paid for the persistent refusal of successive governments of left and right to introduce a Bill of Rights in Britain. Only a few months ago, a Bill of Rights was introduced via the Lords by Lord Scarman and a Liberal peer. And it failed to get even the 100 votes it needed for a second reading in the House of Commons. So you see the task is immense, and I urge you to give it your attention and to think about it. And I honour you and I admire your courage in fighting against this yet further infringement of human rights in Britain, in this infringement of our basic freedoms and rights against institutional power. Thank you very much for listening to me.
I think I've got the best job. I'm getting quite warm here, Ruth.
Well, when my fingers drop off, I think I'll send them to a supermarket and then they can sell them in their freezer. Okay. Why do I apologize to you? Heaven knows I've better things to do. Stay proud, your second just right, baby. Stay proud, stay proud. There's only room to make you get through to say you stay proud. Just because you're old don't mean you're right. So don't try to cut me down to size. Stay proud, the second just right, baby. Stay proud, stay proud. There's only room to make you just come true, so you stay proud. The haughty were humble, and the humble had pride. I would not be lying on my side. Stay proud, the second just right, baby. Stay proud, stay proud. There's only you to make you just as true, so you stay proud. Don't tell me my attitude's naive. Goodbye.
We can't be here on a day more of a day of celebration or the like.
We don't often do gigs celebrations anyway, but that's because we live in times of great censorship. And we're very proud to be here today in the resistance against that censorship. And the first song we're going to do is called The State We're In. Can you all hear us okay? Yeah! Okay, good.
Will you be a sound mixers for us?
Oh, it's not. It's not what you eat or the things that you read or what you do in bed makes you sick in the head. It's a state we're in. It's a state she said, heroin's a better life than the honesty of working wife. She said, take the needle for the night, take the trouble, leave the straight. What you don't get to eat, what they won't let you eat, what you can't do is bad, makes you sick in the head. Stay where it's a government sin, and I'm inside the scapegoats are rolling for the stay where and take over the unconscious. It's easier done, not quite as fun. Take more than one, take more than one, take more than one step. The customs up, get the army and keep the immigrants out and the fascists in. She's no hero, very hot. Oh, Jack has a smack you flat on your back. Oh, don't sit ain't the guy, his wife. And she said, that must be a better life. That must be a better life. That must be a better life. I won't take the needle and the knife. I won't take poverty for a working life. Thanks. 1, 2. I think we might be better just chucking away all the fucking microphones and everything at this rate. This is the oval in the corner. Should we just go for it? Next one's called Quiet Riot. And it's about riots and shoplifting.
That's nice. I want to enjoy it.
How long can we stand here kicking our heels? How long can we stand building houses in the ditch before we riot, rob and eat the rich? Well, you can run and tell your mommy that police are at your heels, but daddy's beating mommy and she knows how it feels. She knows how it feels. She'll have herself a quiet riot. Her hands was supermarket, try it. She'll take her time, she'll still don't fight, She's gonna rip it off till she gets enough. She's gonna rip it off till she gets enough. Cause she scrubs it down and she cleans it up. She's gonna rip it off, rip it off until she gets paid for what she does. She's gonna rip it off, rip it off. She's got one eye on the cameras, the other on the kids. She's got one hand on the shopping bag, the other on the goods. She's gonna rip it off like a leather glove. She's gonna rip it off like a leather glove. Cause the security guys are big and tough. She knows the star detective don't do it for love. You know the star detective don't do it for love. She's gotta rip it off like a leather glove. She don't want 5 years from the laws above, but she's gotta rip it off, rip it off. She'll have herself a quiet riot. Her hands wash supermarket, try it. She'll take her time, she'll still don't fight, Riot, rob and steal. How long can we stand here kicking our heels? How long can we This is for the 3 women that abseiled into the House of Lords. It's called Cops in Our Heads. Keep up the fight, 'cause the secret police are always there in the night. So don't you take off your clothes, don't you smoke one of those, don't you touch me down there where nobody knows. They stop us loving so madly, make us run for our lives. The cops in our heads know what's forbidden, they say hear what you said, just keep your head on. It's the cops in our heads, it's the cops. Like you've done before. If love is a crime, love is a crime, then I'm on the front line. I know what's forbidden, but I won't keep it hidden like I did it before. I know what's forbidden and I want more, 'cause we work for the price of a
live without your love. I couldn't live without you, babe. I want you here to hold me tight. Won't you stay and love me right? Couldn't live without your love. I couldn't live without you, babe. I want you here to hold me tight. Won't you stay and love me right?